360-degree speakers are a great way to evenly fill a room with music, and the JBL Pulse 3, UE Blast, and Bose Soundlink Revolve are three very popular options right now that all cost about the same. But they all have very different designs, very different features, and they all produce that 360-degree sound in very different ways. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and you can watch some of my other videos here after you're done watching this video. The UE Blast is the most expensive, advanced, and rugged speaker in this group. It currently retails for $230 and it comes in 4 colorways: red, blue, black, or white. The Bose Soundlink Revolve is the smallest and classiest speaker in this group and it retails for $200. And it only comes in 2 colorways, black or silver. And the JBL Pulse 3 is the coolest speaker cause, come on, it has a built-in light show. And it also retails for $200, but also usually goes on sale. If you want to pick either of these speakers up, I'll have links in the description below and I'll keep them updated so you can get the best deal possible. Now remember, this isn't a full review on either of these speakers. I'm just trying to point out the most important differences between them so I can help you with your purchase decision. If you want to watch the full review, search the channel or tap the icon in the top right. Like I mentioned earlier, all 3 of these speakers are 360-degree speakers, but they all have very different speaker setups. The Bose Soundlink Revolve is the smallest speaker here, but don't let its size fool you. It has dual passive radiators, 1 downward-facing full-range transducer, and an acoustic deflector, which are all vertically stacked. The UE Blast is rocking 2 35mm drivers and 2 81mm by 39mm rectangular passive radiators, which are all housed internally. And the JBL Pulse 3 has 3 40mm drivers, one at the 0, 120, and 240 degree mark, and 2 exposed passive radiators, one on each side. Now it's important to keep in mind, even though the JBL Pulse 3 is the largest speaker in this group, almost all of its sound is coming from the bottom portion of the speaker where the fabric is. And as you'd expect, all 3 of these speakers sound and perform very differently. I personally think the UE Blast is the worst sounding speaker in this group. Even though it has the most thumping bass and it gets the loudest, it has very weak lows and mids and ear-piercing highs. The sound isn't as detailed or as rich as these other 2 speakers, and there's very little instrument separation. The Bose Soundlink Revolve gets the least loudest in this group, and it really likes to push the mids and vocals forward, just like his big brother, the Bose Soundlink Revolve. It has some really good performing lows, but not so much thumping bass. It sounds good, but it's not the best for people who really like bass-heavy music. Instrument separation is much better than the UE Blast, and the highs are much more tamed as well. And the JBL Pulse 3 has the most even sound signature in this group, but it also has the most treble, which is pretty common for JBL speakers. The lows and mids are almost as good as the Bose, but it does have a little more thump in its bass. The highs are a little brighter than the Bose as well. In general, I prefer the sound of the JBL Pulse 3. It's an overall good performer for most music genres. Regarding battery life on the JBL Pulse 3, it really matters on how you use it. If you play music at max volume and with an intensive light feature mode set at full brightness, then you'll be lucky if you get 6 hours of battery life. But if you play music on the Pulse 3 at a moderate volume with a less intensive light mode, like Jet set at a lower brightness, then you'll get a battery life of around 15 hours. Well, at least I have. The battery life on the UE Blast is pretty average, even with Alexa turned off and it not being connected to Wi-Fi. I'll go into that in a minute. The UE Blast is good for about 8 hours of playback time at a moderately to high volume, and the Bose Soundlink Revolve is good for about 11 hours of playback time from a single charge. Not bad given its size. And all three of these speakers also charge via a micro USB cable, but I do want to point out the UE Blast doesn't have an aux jack, whereas the Bose and JBL do. So with the UE Blast, you can only stream music over Wi-Fi from select streaming services or via Bluetooth from your own device. Whereas with the Pulse 3, you can still use a wired connection if you want to, instead of just relying on Bluetooth. And the Bose Soundlink Revolve lets you listen to music via Bluetooth, the aux jack, or you can even get a wired connection through its micro USB port. All three of these speakers aren't afraid of a little water either. The Bose Soundlink Revolve is IPX4 rated, so it can get wet without any problems, but you should not submerge it underwater. The JBL Pulse 3 is IPX7 certified, so it's fully waterproof down to 1 meter of water for 30 minutes, and it even floats. But even though the JBL Pulse 3 is fairly rugged, if you drop it or bump it against something, you do risk scratching or even cracking the acrylic top. Whereas the UE Blast is the most rugged, rocking an IP67 rating, which means it's both water and dust proof. So the Blast can really take more of a beating than the other two speakers. The UE Blast also has the longest Bluetooth range in the group of about 120 feet, whereas the Pulse 3 has a Bluetooth range of around 70 feet and the Bose has a range of about 40 feet. But the UE Blast can only be paired to one device at a time, whereas the JBL and Bose can be paired to 2 devices at the same time, which makes switching from one device to another super easy, something you can't do on the Blast. What really makes the UE Blast stand out is its Alexa voice integration. After you've connected the Blast to your home Wi-Fi network and signed into your Amazon account, the Blast will work just like an Echo Dot or standard Echo. Alexa, what's the weather like in New York City?
Today, you can look for mostly sunny weather, with a high of 38 degrees and a low of 24 degrees.
But you can also only control your music playback by asking Alexa, and it's important to keep in mind the Alexa voice commands will only work if you're using one of the supported music streaming services and if the speaker is connected to Wi-Fi. And I've been very vocal about this in past videos, but the Blast and Mega Blast not having a manual way to pause or skip a track is very annoying. There are just some times where being able to manually control your music playback is the most convenient. I just don't understand why UE didn't just add a multi-purpose button on top, because the Blast over-reliance on Alexa can be a burden for people who don't use Alexa, don't have a stable Wi-Fi connection, or who don't use one of the supported streaming services. Because both the Bose Soundlink Revolve and JBL Pulse 3 let you fully control your music playback straight from the speaker itself. And on that note, the Bose has some really well laid out concave buttons that make it really easy to know which buttons you're pressing just by touch, whereas all of the buttons on the JBL Pulse 3 are flat, so you never really know what you're pressing without looking. I just wish the buttons on the JBL Pulse 3 were raised. But what really makes the JBL Pulse 3 stand out is its 360-degree light feature. It's the best out there. You can control it directly from the speaker itself, or you can also control it from the JBL Connect app. And you have several light modes to choose from. There's Wave, Jet, Fireworks, Equalizer, Rave, Rainbow, Campfire, and you can even make your own. And if you want, you can even change the color by using your phone's camera or the color wheel. Just keep in mind the light feature doesn't do too well with direct sunlight, so if you do decide to use the speaker outside, just turn the light feature off by pressing and holding the light button on the back. That way you'll save a little battery life. You're welcome. And finally, let's talk about chaining these speakers together to other speakers. As of right now, the UE Blast cannot be chained to any other UE speakers whatsoever, which is a bummer because it's a pretty standard feature these days. The JBL Pulse 3 can be paired to other JBL speakers using JBL Connect Plus, like another Pulse 3, the Flip 4, the JBL Boombox, and now the JBL Charge 3 thanks to a firmware update. But the Pulse 3 cannot be paired to all the JBL devices using the older JBL Connect. But using JBL Connect Plus is super easy. You literally press one button on each speaker and you're done. You can chain up to 100 JBL speakers together, but if you want to get left and right stereo audio going, you need to pair 2 of the same JBL speakers together. Whereas the Bose Soundlink Revolve lets you get left and right stereo audio with almost any 2 Bose speakers that are paired together. But I do have to admit the pairing process on the Bose speakers isn't as seamless as JBL speakers. It doesn't always work on the first try and it does take a little longer. Personally, my favorite speaker in this group is going to obviously be the JBL Pulse 3 because of the light feature. But with the light feature aside, I still prefer the JBL Pulse 3 because of how it sounds. Like I said earlier, the UE Blast has some really weak lows and mids, and the sound isn't as rich or as detailed as these other speakers. The UE Blast is really only worth getting if you're heavily invested in the Amazon ecosystem. The Bose Soundlink Revolve sounds really good for its size, and it's a good sounding speaker in general. I just personally don't like how it pushes the vocals so forward. But some people like that. If you're looking for a small, subtle speaker, you can't go wrong with the Bose Soundlink Revolve. But personally, I prefer the JBL Pulse 3 because you're getting so much for the same price as the other two speakers. You're getting good sound and an amazing light feature. But remember, this isn't a full review on either of these speakers. I'm just trying to point out the most important differences between them so I can help you with your purchase decision. If you want to learn more about either of these speakers, click or tap the icon in the top right. Hey, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It helps out more than you realize. For more product reviews and deal alerts, check out jimcaddy.net. If you want to support the channel, pick up a shirt. And I'll catch you next time.